You ever heard that, scripture that teaches says nothing new under the sun? Well, this is one of those times for sure. Now, you remember back in the presidency of Joe Biden and how he just opened up the floodgates and let everybody come over here to this country and was dumping them in the major cities. And we know Chicago was spoken about a lot, and we know New York City was spoken about a lot at that time period. And Chicago and NYC, that was led at the time by Eric Adams in New York and then Brandon Johnson in Chicago. Both of these black mayors was making sure that they give migrants money, taxpayer money, while you have black Americans who couldn't get access to any of that money. Do you remember the video, the infamous video in Chicago, where one of the migrants told a black woman that she's lazy, coming into our country, telling a black woman whose descendants built this country that she's lazy for saying something about the things that they're getting and why black folks not getting it. And it was a complete slap in the face to black Americans. And a lot of black folks was like, you know what, forget the Democrats. I'm not voting for them. That's how Trump got in office. The Democrats themselves is really what would disillusion black people from voting. Now, the reason why I say nothing new under the sun, now we're going to go back in time. Remember, Black history is 365. It is not 28 days in February. It is 365. And we had our brothers and sisters in Miami when they started letting all the Cubans come in. I want you to watch and listen exactly what happened to those brothers and sisters. Let's go ahead and roll that.
Many black Miamians view the sudden in-migration of Cubans with bitter irony. Black Miamians watched as Cuban exiles were given assistance, aid, and money that native-born black Americans never received. Some blacks began to feel that the Cuban migration and the federal government's attention to Cuban needs blunted demands that blacks were making during the 1960s civil rights struggle. Jesse McCrary is an attorney in Miami. At 34, McCrary has had a fast-moving career. He's been an assistant state's attorney general and for a time sat as one of Florida's federal court judges. McCrary likes to remember that he is one of few blacks that is able to maintain offices on Miami's Biscayne Boulevard. We asked McCrary what he thought the Cuban immigration means to blacks in Miami.
For one, Tony, it means that economically, when you look at what the Cubans have done in terms of their economics versus what blacks have done, means that we are once again at the bottom of the barrel. There are no predominantly black financial institutions in this county. Some people would say that, even though there is a bank here with a number of blacks on the board of directors, but when you look at the control of the bank, where the major portion of the stock is held, it's held by white Miamians. Contrasting that, you have Cubans who have a bank that reportedly is one of the fastest growing banks in the country. Now, that poses a problem because I believe that the whole strength of any community happens to be what kind of financial institutions do you have? Is there an institution that can make a loan to a man who wants to go in business? Is there an institution that is sympathetic to a man who wants to build a house? Is there an institution where he can borrow money to send his children to school? Now, if you don't have those kinds of institutions, then certainly when other people have them, that is white Miami, Cuban Miami, and then black Miami does not have it, it certainly puts them in a pretty poor position, I think.
Now, on top of that, as you heard, they was receiving funds that black Americans couldn't get, right? The same thing like you fast forward today, that they can get things that black Americans can't get. Then they got the nerve to be anti-black to you, right? Be racist to you and say, well, they come over here, they work so hard and all this other stuff. No, you didn't start off working hard. You were given things. And the black Americans were given the same thing as you. Black Americans would be in certain positions as well. But the story with the Cubans themselves is that the ones that came over here was more of your middle class to wealthier Cubans, the ones that fled over here, right? Now, in 1966, they had the Cuban Resettlement Adjustment Act, and that law that's a law actually on the books, not an executive order. Now, that law is signed by Lyndon Johnson, a Democrat. allow Cubans who reach the U.S. to stay legally, and after a year, they can get permanent residency. That's for any Cubans, and that's still on the books. So if a Cuban comes, that's why so many Cubans come to go to Miami. One, they got a big community there. Two, all they got to do is be here a year, and they get a permanent residency. That's it, according to the federal law. But as you can see, these groups, especially, like we're talking about the Cubans in particular, they get something that other immigrants don't get. And some immigrants complain about that or whatever. And that's why they say Cubans think they're better than the other Latinos because they have that and the other ones don't have that particular law or whatever. But here's the thing. They've been doing this to black people. See, they were already creating that buffer class system way back in the 1960s. The first migration of Cubans started at 1959. Okay, that started then. And they really ratcheted up all the way up to 1980. So when these people get here, they give them resources that black Americans could not get. And that's why black Americans are saying we cool on that immigration, because every time we see a bunch of people come in through immigration, they're being handed checks for coming over here. Black Americans who've been here, built this country, haven't got their reparations at all, don't get a thing. We'll be a fool and a half to be sitting up here advocating for immigration. Jasmine Crockett advocated for immigration and they didn't show up to vote for her. That should let any politician know that you start talking about immigration, those people are not going to be loyal to you in the voter booth, and black folks will get just don't want to deal with you because we are seeing how immigration does not benefit black America. Period. We don't get nothing from it as a community. Some of them will come in our neighborhoods, open up businesses off of the dime and tax dollar that come to them, right? And then got the nerve to look down on black folk in black folks' neighborhood. A lot of them got some nerve. But as I said before, notice it's not a bunch of black Cubans. Some people are like, they got a community of black Cubans in Miami. I know some came, right. But I'm talking about the majority in Miami isn't black Cubans. Let's call it what it is. It's not. It's the whiter skinned ones. Because black Cubans not going to act like them. And even the black Cubans will tell you, we Cuban like them, but I don't fool with them, bro. They racist. I don't know. How many times black American brothers and sisters have told you about them Cubans over there in Miami and how they act toward black folk? But they've been doing this. They've been giving the immigrants money when they come over here. But then we talk about, hey, okay, well, shoot, man, break us off our reparations in the form of cash payments. Because you don't give those people a study. You didn't give the Cubans a study, right? You didn't give the Venezuelans and anybody else that came over here a study. You gave them checks. When we talk about our reparations, you talk about a study. They don't even talk about anything. They just got their hand out and you putting checks in hand. That's why black people was like, hey man, I ain't really got a problem with ICE. I'm cool with them. That's why you heard black people saying, yeah, ICE can get them on out of here. Because like, why do we want a bunch of people to come in our area that already have anti-black racism in their homeland, and they're coming to compete with you? They're not coming here to be your friend. Dr. Claude Anderson preached that long time ago, that none of them are coming here to be your friend. They're coming to compete with you for housing, compete with you for jobs. And on top of that, a lot of them want proximity to whiteness. So that means they're going to be against you just to prove to them, hey, I'm anti-black too. Look, you see, I don't like them black people. So it's nothing new underneath the sun, brothers and sisters. And the presidents that this mostly happened under, it's like Eisenhower, Lyndon Johnson, Kennedy, all of them were cool with them coming over here. They didn't say, hey, stay in your homeland and fight, don't flee. But black folks been getting screwed over financially by the government. That's why these other groups look at us the way they do, because they can come in and get preferential treatment over the people that's built the country. That's why they get arrogant. That's why they talk crap to you. It's because of that right there. This is why a lot of black people say, yeah, I'm cool on the Democrat Party too, because I can't support no party that is just basically promoting my displacement. But I tell black people, don't be Republican either. No Republican, no Democrat, independent. Because you may have to vote Republican because of a certain reason. You may have to vote Democrat for a certain reason, but you should not be tied to no political party. Nobody should be banking on the black vote. If we can just get to that point that they don't know where the black vote is going, that's the most powerful position for us to be in. There's no way we should be voting for anybody that's pro-immigration. No, it doesn't benefit us at all. It benefits the corporations, but it don't benefit us specifically as black Americans. It don't. Now, I want y'all to let me know, especially you brothers and sisters in Chicago hearing that. You brothers and sisters in New York hearing that. Let me know how y'all feel about that. Like, they've been giving out money. So this your parents and grandparents that was sitting up here getting done wrong. These people have not changed, bro. They have not changed. Every time I look up, they always trying to do black people wrong, man. Always. We ain't done nothing to nobody. And yet they always. That's why world is in chaos now with Trump. You can't keep doing God's children that way and think you're gonna have just a great life and everything gonna be great and peaceful and successful. No, the whole world being turned upside down with Trump, and it's only gonna get worse. If they'd done right by black people, they wouldn't be in this issue and problem.